Hello and welcome back to Kenny the Sports Guys podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Severa, and today I have a very, very special guest. Tim Garcia of Garcia Sports Podcast joins me on the show. Honestly, I am very excited to have this man on this show, and I have been eyeballing him for quite a while. Please welcome to the show, Tim Garcia. Thank you
Well,
for being on
Kenny,
the show. Yes?
oh, of course. No, Kenny, thank you. The honor is mine. Thank you for that wonderful intro. I, as well, have been following your page. Love the content. You're on top of it like this every time something happens in sports. So thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that, Jester. So thank you for being on the show today, man.
Yeah, let's go. Throw me the topics and I got content for you. I'm ready.
All right. So I have been listening to your episodes for quite some time now, and I really, really enjoyed your content. I guess the first question I have for you today is, how did your podcast start, and what is the name behind Garcia Sports Garage?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I've always loved sports. I started playing sports like most people, from t-ball all the way up, multiple sports. In college, I studied journalism, communication. So I dealt with, film, writing script, writing copy for all the sports teams. Tried to play in college, played through high school. So sports have always been a major part of my life. And I was like, I have decent hot takes. People like to listen to me. I could speak about sports for days. Let me start a podcast. And the idea came to me when I was in my parents' house about 10 years ago. I was like, this would be a cool name for a podcast. What do you find in garages? Random stuff, right?
Mhm.
Old mitts, old scooters, old DVDs. Like, wouldn't you want to come hang out in a garage and just talk sports, talk shop,
It's a
have a
very
couple beers?
underrated place to do, actually. Very underrated.
It is.
Yeah, garage? I've never thought of that.
No, right? And I was like, hey, my last name's Garcia. I love sports. And the logos, actually, I created it. I'm a big comic nerd as well, big into
Same
pop
here.
culture. Yeah, so you kind of got the sports garage element, but then you have the comic type of logo. So it incorporates both my love, sports and comics.
Oh, wow. That's actually a really good explanation you have there. Actually, like, I'm a big Comic Con nerd, so I go to Comic Con here every October in New York City, and it's
Nice.
amazing. Like, I've been there for like 10 years, and I'm a bit of a comic book nerd also. So
It would be interesting. Maybe next year we can both go to our own respective Comic Cons. Where I guess I don't live in San Diego anymore, but I'll go to the one in San Diego. You go to the one in New York, and we'll have a collaboration. We'll have a reunion podcast to talk about how each one differs. How's that?
oh, actually, that actually sounds really good. Actually, actually might go to San Diego for Comic Con next year.
Let's do the podcast in person. Even
Yeah,
better.
definitely. Yeah, definitely, man. I'm very interested in that. All right, so let's get into some NFL questions. Let's
Okay.
talk about your team, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers started out well this season and are currently 6-5 in the always tough AFC West. They're basically one game back of the Chiefs in the AFC West. What do you think about the Chargers season so far?
The Chargers
Yeah.
continue to break my heart. I will tell you this. Consider the Chargers like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Their 4-1 start is like the Sixth Sense, right?
Mhm.
It's incredible. It gets you out of your seat. You applaud. You're like, this is the greatest movie ever. And then they lose 4 to their next 6. You're like, oh, great. This is the happening, or this is the village. It's just like a complete downward spiral from what M. Night Shyamalan's first movie was, Sixth Sense, to one of the worst movies of all time, The Happening. So I'm used to this. What I'm not used to is the Chargers having this packed, this all-star studded team, and they're not playing like it. It's a continuous roller coaster. One thing is different. They're not losing the close games, which has bitten the Chargers in the past for decades. What they are doing are losing games that they should have no business even losing at all.
Like last week. I mean, last Sunday.
Correct. And then you lose. The biggest problem right now, penalties and defense.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win. You can't win that way. So, I was high on them, as everyone else was, with a 4-1 start. Now they're right behind the Chiefs. The Broncos look like contenders. The Raiders are 50-50. You never know what you're going to get. This is going to come down to the last week of the season for the AFC West. So, I mean, I'm used to this, but we have a quarterback finally who can do a quarterback sneak and get us a yard. We have a kicker who can make extra points, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
So what would you consider to be the weakness of the Chargers?
The weakness is by far the defense. The secondary is atrocious. They have one of the worst run defenses in the league, which is perplexing because Brandon Staley, the head coach, had the number one defense last year in Los Angeles with the Rams. So you'd think he would bring some of that expertise across the hallway to the renters room for the Chargers. But that seems to be, it is their weakest point on the team. So I don't know how you can't fix it this late in the season. So they're just going to have to scrape by and hopefully get in a wild card.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on the dam. Like you're not gonna get rid of the problem.
No. And those running backs are like water running through the broken dam. Like there's no stopping them.
I mean, the best running back they have is Austin Eckler, and I really like him. And he actually saved my fantasy football team last year, but not this year. So I didn't draft him that year. All right, so what would you consider to be the strength of the Chargers team?
Justin Herbert and the offensive line. That has been a problem for the Chargers, again, for decades, the offensive line. Phillip Rivers was not mobile, but if he had time, he threw the most catchable ball. Now you have Justin Herbert, steal of the draft, Rashawn Slater, the Chargers' first-round pick this year, the left tackle, could win Rookie of the Year. That's the biggest difference and the biggest reason why the Chargers are competitive. Justin Herbert has time. He has a cannon for an arm. We've seen the last couple of weeks, he can actually run. He's like a gazelle, so graceful. He can pick up 10, 15 yards. He slides early. Really quick, I'll say this. He does what RG3 and Andrew Luck never did. They never slid. They always tried to take the hits. Justin Herbert, he'll slide 2 yards early because he sees it. He's smart. So I have faith. Justin Herbert's the future of the franchise. And for once, I'm excited for what's to come.
Speaking of Herbert, he has 3,230 passing yards with 24 TDs and 10 touchdowns. Basically, he struggled in recent games, but it seems like he's turning the corner. I
agree.
And he's returning back to his old form earlier this season. Do you see Justin Herbert winning this year's MVP, or is he in the conversation?
He's in the conversation, but I think if you give me a list of 5 players, he's number 5. Just the last few games, a couple bad interceptions, albeit not all his fault. I mean, he didn't have any time against Denver. But yeah, he's in the conversation, but unless he goes on some streak, the last 7-8 games of the season, I don't see him winning it.
I agree. I think he's top 4 for me. I mean, you got just Josh Allen in front. I think he's my MVP candidate. Josh Allen, even though he's been struggling this year. Who else? You gotta have Tom Brady in there as well because he always seems to be in MVP conversations throughout the whole year.
True.
Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. I think he should be in the conversation as well. He's been tearing it up recently.
You wouldn't have Aaron Rodgers there in the top 4?
Aaron Rodgers is actually next.
Okay.
Yeah, he's next. And then you got Justin Herbert. I mean, those are my top 5 MVP candidates so far. So maybe I could just rearrange it. I put, instead of Brady second, I put Rodgers second. So I put Brady 4th.
That sounds more like it. But as we've seen, especially in the AFC, anything can happen. I mean, you got the Bills losing to the Jaguars. You got the Chargers losing to the Broncos. I mean, Josh Allen throwing 3 picks in a game. Justin Herbert throwing 2. I mean, the AFC fluctuates so much. We could have Jonathan Taylor could go on a run and fumble the ball a few times this week. I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, anything is possible in this weird NFL season. I can't really explain it. This has been one odd season.
It has. Yes, it has.
So do you see the Chargers making it to the playoffs this season?
I do. I think they're going to figure it out. They'll scrape by. The funny thing is, they still have a chance at the division.
They're only 1 game back.
Yeah, which is insane. And the Chiefs, they're hot and cold. And like I said at the beginning of the show, Broncos are surprising. Raiders are 50-50. They will make the playoffs. I just don't know whether it will be a wild card or the division. But again, if it's a division, it's going to come down to the final game.
Well, I think they might win the division, but I see them winning as a wild card because I think the Chiefs are getting hot at the right time. I think Mahomes finally figuring it out that he could play QB again. The defense has been okay at best. I mean, I think the Chiefs is going to win the division this year, and the Chargers is going to be one of the wild cards.
And I'd be okay with that. But going into this Thursday night, I know this is being released next week, but Andy Reid, I think he's never lost, or he's only lost a couple of times in his career coming off of a bye.
Yep.
So that doesn't bode well for the Broncos here this weekend.
Okay, so I've been scrolling on your Instagram recently, and I noticed that you took a trip to SoFi Stadium.
Yes, I did.
So, care to elaborate on how like the experience was like in SoFi? Because I'm planning on making a trip there myself pretty soon, and I just want to know how it is.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, I'll start off with this. I don't know how the heck there was a weather delay in that stadium on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago.
I don't know what was that. That was weird.
I mean, they say it's an outdoor stadium, but you walk, so it's beautiful. It's like a spaceship. It really is. You're driving down the road. You don't see anything. You'd make a right next to a Target, and then boom, it's just a massive, beautiful, gorgeous looking spaceship. One thing I didn't like, there's not a lot of parking, but that's a problem with a lot of NFL stadiums. But you'd think this multi-billion-dollar stadium, you could figure that out. So that's strike one against it. Strike two, the food was very lackluster. The options, not a lot of food choices.
I saw the photos. I saw the photos of the food people took. Oh my God, that was disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, you have some of the most famous chefs in LA, the Hollywood capital of the world, and you can't even get me some filet mignon. You can't even get me some loaded fries. So strike two. But the stadium is immaculate. That circular screen that goes around the entire stadium, it's clearer than any 4K, 5K TV you'll see anywhere. You could watch the whole game on that. And that's the problem with like AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play, is you could literally spend $200 for a ticket and watch the whole game on the screen. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so.
Oh, that's actually a great thing.
Yeah, so you could look down. The acoustics are just incredible. It's a great experience. If you can go, you have to. It's the Super Bowl is going to be there. You look through the above, you can see the sky. On top of the stadium, as people have seen, I mean, they can put graphics on there, they can change colors. I mean, worth every penny. I wish the Chargers would have won that game, but overall, it was worth every penny getting out there to see the new stadium.
Nice. Actually, I might go there for WrestleMania in a couple of years, so I really wanted to see how it was. And from the outside, like based on the photos I saw, it looks very, very beautiful. It's
yes,
it costs like $1.5 billion, right?
Yeah, something like that. But expect at least 2 hours to get out. That was another that's strike three on SoFi Stadium.
Why is that? The parking?
Just the parking. They only had one way to get out.
Jeez, really? Damn.
Yeah.
That's actually only one way.
Terrible.
One way? That's terrible.
One way. Yeah, I know. But it was a great experience.
All right, let's switch gears from the West Coast to the East Coast. Let's talk about the Patriots.
Okay.
So, as you already know, the Patriots came out of nowhere this season and currently are in first place in the AFC East, one game ahead of the struggling Buffalo Bills. What do you think is the reason for the Patriots' resurgence?
I'll tell you this. Consistency is a currency for success. And Bill Belichick, he has a quarterback who was taken late in the draft, fell to them in the draft. A kid who was not given high praise coming out of Alabama. A kid who was not in the best shape. Eerily, who does that remind you of? Tom Brady?
Yeah, Tom Brady. That reminds me eerily of him.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady at all, but why was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, why were they so dominant together? Simple, precise, consistent. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're seeing. Bill Belichick has one of the best defenses he's ever had now. He's got a quarterback, vanilla, boring, out of shape, but he's winning. He can do the dump offs. He can hit the slants. He can hand the ball off. He can do an RPO. He can do those simple plays. And you got the greatest coach of all time helping him, calling the play, leading him. Then you got Josh McDaniels, who had Tom Brady for all those years. Mac Jones is in the perfect position. And that's where the resurgence has happened. I was surprised. But then after I thought about it, I was like, well, wait a second. This is like Tom Brady reincarnated from the SEC. And Mac Jones has shown it. He's not turning the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
Again, boring, vanilla, but consistent. And consistency wins games in the NFL, and that's why they're in first place.
So here's what I tell everybody. Maybe, just maybe, Bill Belichick was responsible for the rising of Tom Brady.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It looks like it.
Because he knows how to develop QBs. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore that problem with Tom Brady. I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong, he's the greatest of all time, but without Belichick, maybe he doesn't have the rings that he deserves. I mean,
no, that's a valid point.
It's very interesting how that relationship between Belichick and Brady really is, because a lot of people would say that Brady won the rings on his own, but Belichick was actually the one that helped craft it. You know, he was the one that actually made the game plans every week, see what's the weaknesses behind the defense. It was very interesting. Like, it's very interesting now because Belichick has a rookie QB, one, and they have a chance to win the division without Tom Brady for the first time since God knows how long. And it's a very interesting debate that needs to be addressed.
It is, and you'll have the Tom Brady lovers who will say, "Well, look, he won a Super Bowl right after." Okay, let's break down the numbers. Who did he have on his team? What did he enter with? Oh, a great head coach. Oh, Mike Evans, a fantastic receiver. Oh, a running game. Oh, your boy Gronkowski joined you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to not win with that. So I agree with you. There's an argument to be made. The debate will go on forever, whether it was Belichick or Brady. From what we're seeing this year with Mac Jones, I tend to side with Mr. Belichick in this debate.
Oh, actually, I have to side with you. I think Belichick is the one responsible for Brady. I mean, there's no doubt in it, but there's going to be a lot of Brady lovers out there saying, oh, it's all Tom Brady's doing, not Bill Belichick. So the next question I have is, do you think the Patriots will win the AFC East this season?
I do not. It's not because of Bill Belichick. It's not because of Josh McDaniels. It's not because of their defense. It will be because of their lack of experience. You know, once you get in the postseason in the NFL, you need experience.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part. I think the Bills are just too much. But lately, they have been playing like the Jekyll and Hyde on offense. Like, one game they would show up, and then the next game it just completely disappeared. You know?
Agreed.
And I feel like the Bills is going to win the division probably in the last week of the season, more likely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I believe in. So, who are your picks for Rookie of the Year?
Oh, boy. You know what? Rashawn Slater, left tackle for the Chargers. He's right up there. Wide receiver for Cincinnati, Joe Burrow's boy from LSU. I'm blanking on his name. What is his name?
Mac Jones?
For Cincinnati, the wide receiver.
Oh, Ja'Marr Chase.
Ja'Marr Chase.
Thank
you. Yes. Yeah, I would put both of those guys up there. And then the Bengals, I mean, if you're going to pick a Rookie of the Year, I'd like to see them be tied to a playoff team. So I think if it came down to the Bengals or Chargers, if one of them do not make the postseason, I think you'd give it to the guy who's on that team, who is in the playoffs.
Well, for me, I think it will have to be Mac Jones because he is playing out of his mind right now. But Ja'Marr Chase, I think Ja'Marr Chase has a relatively good chance of winning it. But if I had to bet all my money, I would have to say Mac Jones.
Interesting. Okay. Not Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, God, no. Don't mention Zach Wilson in this household because I'm a Jets fan, actually, and I wouldn't say that they ruined him. I'm just saying, like, that it's kind of really hard to explain. He's not ready, basically. I feel like he's not ready. One, they put him to the fire way too soon. They don't have any weapons around him. Like maybe the only weapon he has is Jameson Crowder. The offensive line has been putrid at best. Like I can't make sense of Zach Wilson's career right now because I would need to see another year from him. Let's see how he does next season. And as for Trevor Lawrence, well, I always thought that he was very overrated because Trevor Lawrence, he played in the system that like he liked in Clemson, but pairing him with Urban Meyer, I have no idea what they were doing there. Maybe he's just growing pains, but maybe next year that Lawrence is going to be back to his old form.
Maybe. Keep your Jets head on for a second. Was he the wrong pick for quarterback for the Jets?
Ugh. Yes, I think he was the wrong pick. You know why? Because I always tell everybody they should select Matt Jones. I think he would have been the second overall pick this year, but if the Jets would have drafted Lawrence, it would have been much the same either. So I think the best quarterback right now for the Jets that should have been drafted is Mac Jones.
Okay, fair enough.
Or maybe Jamar Chase. I mean, who knows? But we also gave up a Sam Darnold too quickly, but think how his career turned out in Carolina. So,
well, I if anything, maybe you dodged another bullet there because sure he showed signs of improvement and success, but now look at him. They had to bring in Cam Newton. So I think you made the right call on that one. And I'm a UCLA guy. So anytime you can get rid of a USC player and you can see them fail, deep inside, I enjoy it.
Do you think his career is cooked though?
I just think he's turnover prone. He's been that way his entire career, even at USC. I watched almost all his games at USC because I'm a Pac-12 guy. I think he'll be a decent backup, but he's been in the league, 4 or 5 years, and he hasn't established himself as a legitimate starter. I think it's time to maybe accept that and be the backup. By the way, being the backup quarterback in the NFL is the greatest job on the planet.
Yeah, you still get paid.
You still get paid. You don't take first team reps. You get to travel. No one expects anything if you have to come in during an injury. It's the best job.
Mm-hmm. So so my pick for rookie of the year has to be Mac Jones, one, and second Jamar Chase. So those are my picks. I think Jamar Chase might win it, but I mean, who knows? So where do you see the Patriots? Are they going to make it far this season in the play?
I think they will. I think they'll surprise and actually win the division. But again, that it all comes down to experience. So I think they'll lose in the first round.
I mean, the first round they could possibly face a tough team like the Bills or somebody else. But I agree. I can see them losing in the first round. So
unless they play the Chargers, because they already beat the Chargers. And I saw a projection earlier this week where if the playoffs were to happen right now, the Patriots would play the Chargers.
Interesting. I think the Chargers will actually pull that off, actually.
Let's hope so.
All right, so let's shift gears to the Major League Baseball season. You already know the Braves won the World Series. They beat the Houston Astros in 6. So what are your thoughts on this past season so far?
I think it was a great season for baseball. I think seeing the Astros lose on the grand stage like that was satisfying. I think seeing Atlanta Braves and Freddie Freeman the way it should be done, being drafted by a team, staying with the team, not leaving for money, and winning a World Series is just something you don't see anymore in the sports world. Overall, I think it was a great season. We had some of the best playoff series that we've had in recent memory. But unfortunately, the biggest story now is the lockout.
Yep. 12 a.m. as of today.
Yes, and that, if you don't mind, I'd like to maybe focus more on that because everything in the past now is a moot point, really. Even all these extensions, first of all, side note, why does anyone think 10-year deals work? Name me one 10-year deal that has worked out for a team. Maybe Mike Trout, but they haven't made the playoffs. He's just won 3 MVPs. And you had a great point the other day. One of your posts, you were like, looks like guys are just chasing money, not
Yeah, it
rings.
is.
And I think that is so true. And it resonated with me because I'm like, I played baseball all through life, tried to play in college. So it's my number one sport. You want to win a World Series. I remember winning my high school championship senior year. Like there's nothing like that sense of adrenaline that's running through your body when you win. And these guys are just chasing money. So you made a good point.
So, 3 of the top free agents, Scherzer, Seager, and Simeon. Guess who's their agents?
Oh, let me guess. Scott Boras.
Yep, Scott Boras.
Oh, man, that guy.
So that is the reason why those players got all those that big money, because Scott Boras has been known to get a lot of money from his clients, and he gets a small percentage out of that.
I want to see that guy's house. He's been in the game for years. I want to see what his house looks like.
So, yeah, I mean, Boras, I would love to be a Boras guy right now, actually. He's he's amazing what he does. So, are there any signings that, before the lockout that shocked you?
I think the Max Scherzer deal really shocked me.
Oh, same here.
Especially because he got a taste of the West Coast. He spent most of his career on the East Coast. I mean, to go back to a team that historically has not fared well, especially when they spend all this money on pitchers. How long ago was it when they had Noah Syndergaard, they had Bartolo Colon, they had Jacob DeGrom? 5 years ago. And how many times have they been to the NLCS? How many times have they been to the World Series? 0. Big fat 0.
2015, that's it.
See? So, you spend all this money now. You spend for 3 years, and the guy is ancient in baseball terms, really. You're going to give him all this money? That was probably the most surprising to me. And actually, right before the clock hit 12 yesterday, Marcus Stroman going to the Cubs was very surprising to me. I thought he was going to head west.
I always thought he was going to be gone because he always talked about the Mets ownership, and I'm actually quite surprised that he actually signed with the Cubs, because I thought he would either go to Philadelphia or somewhere out west, like the Padres. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I like Marcus Stroman, but he talks too much, basically.
He does, but that's okay in baseball.
Yeah, that's okay in baseball. Baseball needs more of that. More of that, actually.
No, they do, because baseball is in a very difficult. This is going to lay out the path for the sport over the next couple of decades, because how many sports are ahead of them in popularity? 8, 9. I mean, baseball is way down the list. And now you have this lockout. Is it going to get rectified? We don't need to start panicking as baseball fans until February comes. But baseball is suffering. All the purists still want to hang on to those analytics. They still want to hang on to the sanctity of Major League Baseball. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you, Kenny, the sports guy, fans, sanctity in baseball was abolished when the Astros cheated and Major League Baseball did nothing about it. That's it.
That's a hot take right there, actually.
Baseball lost fans. The games are too long. You're losing viewers. You're losing butts in the seats. And now you have this lockout. If you go into this season, if there's one game lost because of this lockout, you're going to lose the few fans you have left. And it'll take 40 to 50 years to get back to America's pastime. And that's just the truth.
So that's a very interesting take there, actually. I think baseball has grew in popularity in the century, but as for I feel like in recent seasons has gone down, because I feel like the owners want so much money, and so as the players. And I always thought that they should have had a salary cap with it. And I don't know why they don't have it, honestly.
Yeah, that's the question as old as time, why they don't implement a salary cap. You're
Because
100% correct.
because they're greedy. That's why. That's what it is. It's all about greedy baseball, man. Like that's why I posted at when the championship, because I feel like these players only care about the money instead of going out there and establishing their legacy and winning rings. Like back in the '90s, it was not like that. So like people join other teams just for a chance to win a ring. Now players join other teams for the money, and it's actually very, very sad to see.
It is
Sad. It's very, very, very sad. And I just hope that one day it would just change. So, who is your favorites to win next year's World Series?
Oh, well, depending on what happens to Freddie Freeman, I can't imagine the Braves don't re-sign him. That makes zero sense. But let's just say they re-sign him. You got to put the Braves up there at the top for the East. On the West, or the American League, the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have had a fire off season, especially with their pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'll put our friends north of the border up there. I'll say a dark horse. This isn't because I'm an Angels fan, but I think they've done a decent job in this offseason getting pitching. If Rendon is healthy and Ohtani is healthy and Mike Trout comes back strong, the Angels had a very solid offensive year. It was the pitching that hurt them. The Astros, I do not think, will be a contender in 2022. I don't know. I would say Blue Jays and then Braves, hoping the Angels maybe sneak in. But again, there's a lot to be seen here in the next couple of months.
So for me, I will have to say I agree with you on the Blue Jays, but one dark horse team, it could be the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, they're always in it every single year. And one season, they're going to win the World Series because they've been eliminated in the first round by the Red Sox this postseason. They lost in the World Series last season. So we got to figure out, something has to give with it. So they have to win the World Series this year because their elimination.
Well, I don't know what's in the water in Florida, but when your team's been in the postseason as often as the Rays and you still only get 3,000 people in the seats, I get the stadium is a trash dump.
Actually,
but come on,
it actually is trash.
Is it? But I mean, come on, people. Your team was just in the World Series. Your team was in the postseason. How do you not go out and support them? Florida's not that great. It's not California. It's humid as hell. So what else are you doing on an evening or a Saturday afternoon? What are you doing?
I don't know. Floridians right now, I don't even know. I don't even know about them anymore. All right, moving on from the Major League Baseball lockout to the NBA. Let's talk about the Lakers.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I had to ask because since you're a San Diego guy, the Lakers are struggling this year. And I just want to get your opinion on what is wrong with the What is wrong with the Lakers this season?
It all started with #NotMyKing. It all started with Mr. LBJ coming to Los Angeles. You could go back through all my NBA posts for the past 5 years. I cannot stand LeBron James. I am the biggest LeBron James hater. I won't even say his name. I will say #NotMyKing because he is not my king. He is not the savior, and he's the reason for the Lakers' demise. Last year, I don't even count that championship because LeBron was on it. And then this offseason, he said he wants to win, and he brings in all these old dudes. Average age is like 37. It's not a pickup game at the Y. It's the NBA. So he's got all these old dudes on the court with him. He's old. He's too involved in off-the-court matters. He's the biggest baby. He never gets his way. And that's the Lakers' problem. They've given the franchise over to #NotMyKing, and it's showing. They're not a good team. They're mediocre at best, and it's time for him to step down.
Wow.
You could tell I get very fired up.
Yeah, you get
people
very,
ask
very
me
fired up
about
talking about LeBron.
Yes.
So, speaking of LeBron, I just feel like he's been out of character this season. Like, from the elbow on Isaiah Stewart to his inappropriate gesture against the Thunder. The question I have is, do you think the pressure is getting to LeBron?
No, he's using those things as scapegoats and excuses. He is the excuse machine in NBA history. He's going to use it at the end of the season. When they don't make the postseason or they lose, he's going to bring up these early season distractions and say that it just threw him off his rhythm. That's it. And the other day, he had a fan kicked out because the fan was heckling him.
Yeah, let's snitch. That's what they call him now. Let's snitch.
Yeah. It's the Lakers will get back to greatness once LeBron James is off the team.
What do you thought about the Russell Westbrook trade?
Why? He's a stat machine. He's a triple-double monster, which is great. But if all you care about are stats, you're not going to go anywhere. Now it's worse. Now you got hashtag not my king, who is afraid to take a shot at the end of the game. Then you have Russell Westbrook, who has no fear of taking the last shot in the game. But both of them are not going to make it. Yeah, break. Exactly. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he has a house next to UCLA where he went to college. I don't know, but that was another perplexing move by the Lakers. It's like Rob Pelinka said, here you go, LeBron, Genie Bus, here you go. Do whatever you want with our franchise. Money is no option. Go bring in all your old buddies. You guys can sign up for AARP on your off time. Have the season. This is yours. And it's showing. They're bad. And I love it. I love watching the Lakers lose.
So here's the thing about Russell Westbrook. He's a ball hog. He has an egotistical problem. When the Lakers traded for him, my first thought was, really? They're going to put him on the same court with LeBron and AD? Like, what are they thinking? Like, it's just baffling to me that Westbrook is actually in a Lakers uniform right now. And he has been okay, but he hasn't been setting the world on fire on the basketball court. And I feel like he's holding the team back. Like, remember like Dennis Schroeder for last season?
Yes.
So he was a legitimate like point guard. So he was stupid enough to, like sign with the Celtics on a 1-year deal, but he won $100 million for the Lakers. They gave that to him, but unfortunately, he didn't sign with them because he was holding out for more money. And now they're stuck with Russell Westbrook, who's he's a ball hog, and he's ruining the team's chemistry right now.
I'll give you another hot take. Alex Caruso would have been a much better fit than Russell Westbrook, and he's lighting it up in Chicago.
Yeah, he is.
And they didn't even counter Caruso. So again, that had to be LeBron. Do you think the Lakers front office were like, okay, Caruso's he's less expensive than Westbrook. The chemistry is here. He's a fan favorite. He wants this. Let's give it to him. No. They let him walk, and then they bring in, again, an egotistical, another alpha male to put on a court with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And the fact that you haven't even brought up Anthony Davis in this conversation about, just his time on the court speaks volumes to their lack of chemistry. Anthony Davis isn't the answer. When he's alone on the court, he's not that Greek freak type of mentality. He's not that Mamba mentality that all individuals, quite honestly, should strive to obtain.
Yeah, you're right. I actually have not mentioned Anthony Davis, and there's a reason for that. He hasn't been on the court as much.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, I sometimes forget that he's actually in the Lakers uniform because he hasn't played that much. I mean, he's like injury prone. He's not going to be the man on the team. Like, the reason why he got drafted by the Pelicans is because he was a hot talent. He actually, did well for the Pelicans, and the Pelicans didn't really give him a team to work with. So he got traded to the Lakers.
Right.
And, that's how I think the Lakers are. I think they're gonna make the playoffs, but I think as an eighth seed. What about you? You think the Lakers are gonna make the postseason?
I think they'll make the postseason just because everyone and their grandma makes the postseason in the NBA. And then the playoff series are so long and spread out, they have time to rest. I think they'll make it. I think they'll be like a 7 or, like you said, an 8 seed. I don't see them getting anywhere close. But we still have the trade deadline here?
Yeah.
The next
Coming
couple
up
months?
this February.
Yeah, so LeBron will get some other old friend of his to come on the team and claim that that person is the answer. They'll throw money at a couple of players. It won't matter. They're not going to win the finals. They're not going to get to the finals. We're seeing the slow, abrasive, embarrassing decline of LeBron James.
Will the Lakers win a championship in the next 3 years?
I honestly don't think so. I mean, look at what the Western Conference has. I think there's too many star-studded teams already who have that cohesive glue. They have a good head coach. They have chemistry. They don't have alpha males fighting. They don't have ball hogs. I don't see it. I would say no. I would say I do not see the Lakers winning in the next 3 years. 5 years, maybe, not 3.
Well, I guess we have to disagree to disagree. I think they might win it in the third year because LeBron's gonna go out and get somebody crazy. Like, I don't know. Probably Giannis is gonna wind up going to the Lakers.
No, he won't. No, he won't. No.
All right, so let's switch gears to my favorite topic, tacos.
Oh yes, yeah, mine too.
So I noticed that you have your own vlog about tacos, and I've been watching it a lot lately. And one, I get hungry about it, and two, I just want to get your thoughts on like certain tacos that's going on in the world. So, what are some of the best taco spots in Kansas?
So Kansas. I would just say I've not had a taco better than a taco I've had in San Diego here in Kansas.
Oh, of course, yeah, I love the taco in San Diego.
But there are some good ones. So I'm a big Al Pastor fan. So it's pretty hard to mess that up. If you don't see the meat on the twirly thing and they're cutting it off, it's going to be a one taco. It's not going to be good. So that's your key indicator for a good Al Pastor taco. It's fascinating because it's such a simple. It's just a simple recipe. It's meat, lettuce, cheese, tomato, and some seasoning. And so many places get it wrong. It's incredible. But there are some hidden gems here in Kansas. It's a big old state. I got Kansas and Missouri right next to each other. So I'll find the hidden gems, but right now it's really slim pickings. Good news is I'm not spending $5-6 on a taco like I was in San Diego. So for every one review in San Diego, I'm getting 3 or 4 reviews here. So that's a positive.
Yeah, New York here, tacos here in New York are very expensive. Like they're like $8 to $10, and some of them are not even worth it.
Oh my goodness! Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
I mean, honestly, here in New York City, like you can find every food imaginable, but the taco scene here has been very disappointing. You know, I haven't had a good taco here, but when I went to San Diego, I had some of the best tacos like I ever had, and I get hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah, believe me, when I'm doing my reviews on Tuesdays, I can't even tell you how many times I think back about all the tacos that I've had in San Diego. It's actually quite sad, actually.
I know it's very, very quite sad. So, what is your favorite type of taco?
I really like carne asada. Carne asada is my number one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it is awesome, and it's hard to find a bad one. I have found a couple bad ones, but there's just something about being charred on the grill, the right seasoning. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with carne asada.
What about chimichangas?
I'm not a fan of chimichangas.
I'll tell you why. Really?
No, but I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. Because in college, my freshman year, we would drink a few too many libations and go to Walmart and get the frozen chimichangas, which are so bad for you.
Oh God,
And I had
those are bad.
and I had so many of those that after I was like, I'm never having chimichangas again. So college ruined chimichangas for me, and I have not had one since.
No,
I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're delicious, but every time I get flashbacks to those days in that terrible dorm room, so I just stay away. You can have all the chimichangas for me, okay, Kenny? And I'll just stick to al pastor and carne asada.
So what would you rather eat? Fish tacos, chorizo tacos, or shrimp tacos?
Oh goodness, fish, shrimp,
if you had to choose
or
one.
chorizo. Oh man, Kenny, that's like picking which one is your favorite child. Oh man, coming from San Diego, I gotta say fish tacos. You're not gonna find it. You're not gonna find a better fish taco than San Diego. You're just not.
No, actually, yeah, you're actually right. But for me, I'll have to take shrimp tacos because I love shrimp so much.
But what kind of shrimp?
Fried shrimp.
Fried shrimp. Okay.
Well, fried shrimp and a little Cajun shrimp as well.
Oh
yeah.
Cajun,
oh my God, yeah. Cajun are awesome.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. But no, fish tacos. Fish tacos, 100%.
So where is the best place to get the best taco? San Diego or somewhere else?
Oh, San Diego.
Yeah, of course, San Diego. I had to agree because San Diego is awesome.
It is awesome, and you can, and it's not just coming from me. You can ask anyone who lives there because San Diego is actually, it's an unknown fact for people outside. It's more of a transplant city. Actually, you will find more people. You will find more people who have moved into San Diego than who have lived there their entire lives.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio, so it's not that large, but it's enough to where if you go to a bar, you're gonna meet 10 people, 5, 6 of them are gonna be from out of San Diego.
Oh, nice.
Which is fascinating. So you have all these different cultures, all these people from different heritages, backgrounds, all saying the same thing. San Diego is the greatest, and they have the best fish tacos. So don't take my word for it. Take all San Diegans' word for it.
So I got 3 more questions for you. So,
all right,
what projects have you been working on?
Projects as far as my podcast. Well, I have a new segment. I call it Garcia's Midwest Minute. Mm-hmm. It's just 1 minute of me talking about anything from how terrible drivers are in the Midwest to how I'm barely sleeping with my brand new son.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. To what's going on in the sports world, hot takes. So that is really what I'm focusing on. It's difficult with a kid. You know, my wife works as well. So once he gets home from daycare, it's basically all hands on deck until he goes to sleep. And then, you know, we got work and we got to discuss what happened throughout the day. So finding that time is a little difficult, but Garcia's Midwest Minute is a big thing. The taco reviews, still a weekly thing. And then just trying to bring content to, you know, my followers.
I mean, I'm the same way too. I just been working on my podcast, social media, and you know, I just been grinding all the time, and I really enjoy it. Actually, believe it or not, it keeps you busy.
Right, but again, I said it earlier. Consistency is a currency for success, and during the pandemic, especially in California last year, you know, everyone was shut down. Everyone was working from home. You'd see podcasts popping up left and right. Every 5 minutes, a new podcast. But a lot of them are not around anymore.
I know because
I'm around.
People got old. That's why people got tired of it. That's the thing with podcasts. I think people, they expect it to be like an overnight success, but it's not. That doesn't work that way. So
no, like you said, it's a grind. It's a grind,
yeah, but it's gonna be very rewarding in the end. So my last question is, where can people find you and your podcast on social media?
So Instagram is where I do all of my content, at GSG Podcast. Very simple, at GSG Podcast. There's a link tree there in the bio, and that's all you need. My podcasts are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Again, those links are in the bio. Very simple. My podcasts are 15 minutes or less because I know people's time is valuable. I don't want to waste it. I jam pack it with hot takes and outrageous comments about hashtag not my king. Sometimes I have segments called Bashabron. I'm serious, Bashabron. They're great. They're great. People are like, why do you hate LeBron James? I listen to my podcast and you'll find out. so Instagram at GSG Podcast. You can listen to the podcasts, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
All right, that's all the questions I had, and I thank you for being on the show, man. It's been very, very fun and very informative, and now I understand your hate towards LeBron now.
Thank you, Kenny. Hey, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure. Hey, we'll stay in touch. If you go to Comic-Con next year, let's meet up and let's do this in person again.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, well, that is the end of this episode. I would like to thank Tim Garcia for being on the show. Follow him on Instagram at GSG Podcast and his website, GarciaSportsGarage.com. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Kenny_sports and on Instagram at KennySportsGuy, and my website, KenTheSportsGuy.com, Ken with 2 N's. You can also find me on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher. Until the next episode, see ya, and I hope you stay safe and healthy.